All right. Anyways, cool. Let's get into it. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is actually part 4 of our, conversation with Sam Hannes here. This is Sam.
Hi.
Sean over here. I'm Jesse. Nerd Rat. We're at the Nerd Rat's Rat Nest. I keep wanting to call it Nerd Nest. It might be its own thing. I guess.
Maybe you should.
Maybe you should. Yeah, we're working on these. We're wanting to bring in cats to talk about filmmaking around the country, around the world, and specifically, we have a lot of connections here locally in Northern Colorado, which is where we're located. And we like talking about movies and kind of our history. And what we've been doing over these first 3 parts is talking to Sam about where she's come from, how we know each other, and just kind of the same struggles over the last 10, 15 years in our creative process. So,
yeah,
thanks for tuning in, y'all. And let's keep going into it here.
Speaking of history of where we've all come from, we met in 2013. So at this point, that's the equivalent of going from kindergarten to senior year in high school.
Look at us.
Believe that?
Look at us.
We're K through 12, right?
Fort Collins. It's not.
It's crazy.
We're still not.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah, right. Right? Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I mean, geez, just thinking about remember whenever the 10-year mark rolled over for being here and you're like, well, let's keep going, I guess. I guess that was a decade here,
Right.
But looking back 10 years, or looking back where you were and to here, do you guys think that you've changed and grown tremendously?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Starting with that 7D that we shot everything on, the original 7D, and now it's we have the red,
yeah,
the whole community.
Even
We've done so much. Yeah.
You're saying that your first camera was the 5D, right?
Yeah, I'm so jealous
Wow.
of that. Yeah.
my first camera was the VHS only shoulder recorder. That then the first camera I actually bought was a GL2, and I still have it. So
yeah.
Jesus, Mod, look at us now. Now it's like kids would laugh at you for shooting an SD 280p or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So yeah, right. But where we're at in the conversation, y'all, is we've went through a little bit of the history where Sam's at, and now we're into the creative process after all the hard work that we have to put in. We all have to do commercial work to pay the bills, but the goal truly is to do fun stuff, things that we love to do. Nobody wants to get a job in the creative field, filming people's belt commercials. But if you got a belt commercial out there, we're hiring. We'll film it for you. But let's be a little creative.
I actually do kind of like commercials, 30-second ones.
There you go.
I kind of you can be really creative in a short amount of time and make pretty good money. But none of us have ever done a really big contract,
right?
But you can have fun, even with those cannabis ones.
Yeah, those cannabis ones, we did some pretty fun stuff with.
Yeah,
we might pop up maybe a quick thing there, but we were able to be more creative with those.
Yeah, the cannabis commercials actually kept me afloat when all work canceled during the
COVID,
pandemic.
Yeah,
weird enough.
Cannabis.
Yeah, cannabis kept me afloat for a year.
Honestly, 10 years ago? Actually, not 10 years ago. At this point, it'd be 12, 13. That wasn't a thing, making cannabis commercials.
Yeah, and creative ones. You kind of do whatever you want, without being joking about stoners and stuff.
Sure.
It's be creative in other ways.
Getting high, man. No, it was actually marketing and doing you would do any commercial for anything else and just making it a product. That's amazing.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen very often. A lot of times you kind of got to follow it, and in my opinion, how you can tell somebody is a really good creative is they can maneuver in any way. So say if you were to come on set with somebody and they were to just pull an audible, literally the producer comes in and says, hey, we've got to take this out, put this in, change. And we've all experienced this. We've got to change because the lawyer said we can't say this line. It always happens. A good person that is what they do good in this world that we're doing is able to adjust on a dime, because it's not that much hard, much further to adjust in any direction if you need to do something creative to come up with the idea. So a lot of times what I'm trying to get to is that in the commercial world, the creative process is coming up with the best way to get the thing done. And it doesn't necessarily reflect in the commercial, but it reflects in how you're dealing with your clientele. So there's still a creative process in that, except that one is behind the scenes and one's in front of it. Do you guys attest to that at all in this world that we're in?
Yeah, this is kind of a side thing off of that, just being on the fly and needing to adjust a lot. We wanted to talk about we're talking about weed stuff, but the creative.
The creative.
Yeah, that would be its own episode. That's the story of that.
But that was like one of those where it was like constant like curveballs.
Like as soon as you got
was
done
weird.
shooting a shot, like, listen, we can't say that.
Well, that was it because it's creative based, and it's like, well, we can't actually say this does this. You can only say it does it.
We're
for
trying
you.
to promote a product that is not federally recognized, and you can't make any claims about it. Yet we're trying to convince people that it's good.
They should
You
buy
can't
it.
say that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that would be seriously its own
Yeah.
episode too.
Yeah.
But that's like
That
one of those that-
talk about a creative being creative in order just to make sure that the thing exists. Like
I can't
there's-
believe we got out of that.
there's so many levels of this creative process that we're in. Like to be a creative doesn't mean that you're making Scorsese things half time. Half time is just like how quick can you get something adjusted to make it match in with the other 90% of the things that you're shooting for the day. It happens all the time. And that transition into that whole process of being able to get those things done in a timely manner. Do you think the commercial work that you do helps make you a better creative in the creative world? And in what aspects? Is it the writing? Is it getting things done in a timely manner? Like, what do you guys feel about it? Sam, I'd propose that to you first.
Yeah, I guess on site during the viewpoint shoots, again, we show up to these cities and we're working with a company where we have to encapsulate like the entire mission and spirit of this whole company in like 6 hours.
And you're
And
just-
we've never been
You're
there
almost
before.
like first time here.
Sight unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially for me, like it is. Sometimes
Like-
we arrive on location. I'm like, wait, what's the business?
Where are we going?
Yeah.
What is,
Because like Sam like writes the scripts and like talks to the clients, and I just show up and I'm like,
I'll
wait,
shoot.
what are we shooting today?
But like,
inside or outside? Yeah.
but that's also a safety in knowing that you can complete something no matter what it is. Like, what are we doing? Okay, I got it. Now I know how to adjust for it. That's, I think, a sign of this. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good exercise, I think, because I just unintentionally ended up in documentary and commercial. I don't have a ton of experience like writing a script and specifically planning for this or that. The only like narrative type of work that I've done is through film races and just for fun. Again, amazing exercises in that, which does help. Like, okay, well, we have to submit this on Sunday and it's Saturday and this isn't going to work. Like whatever we had wanted to do isn't going to work. So you just have to pivot and think of new things on the fly.
Well, speaking of pivoting, then it makes me ask the question: how do you see your future now? Now that you've done all this commercial work and how much narrative work comparatively, there's two paths here. One, yeah, the money you could make, great, but then the creative path where you just want to make creative stuff. But like, where are you going now? Where's Sam going?
Mm-hmm. I would like to. I've always wanted to make a feature film, make a feature documentary, and potentially work on a series. I would prefer comedy. I'm more of a lighthearted. I like comedy. So any one of those things, basically whichever shows up first. I got my ears to the ground, but still working on like just financially securing like income in order to work on creative things. So I want to make a feature of this and that. I'm waiting. I kind of still, living life to collect experiences to
Yeah.
have a story to tell. I kind of just feel like I don't have a story to tell yet.
Well,
But
I mean,
yeah.
we're all getting to the point that you and I, and even if this cast that we're doing, like we all have enough life experience, we could just talk and talk and talk and talk. I think that qualifies a little bit. You can.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you were handed the money that you needed to make something, and I'm not saying for you to like, you don't break down what you want to necessarily make, but like, what is the one thing that you need to add to your arsenal, even like if it's another human or another skill, that would be helpful for you to take that next step?
Going back again to what you said about filmmaking as a team sport, I've been doing stuff alone forever and I'm capable. There's a lot of freedom, but limitations in doing things by yourself. But I can't make a feature, a series by myself.
Yeah.
I need to find somebody who's on the same page and who wants to do that too, wants to dedicate all that time to do that too. Because you can get people to make films with you for free sometimes if you're lucky, like if you're lucky and your two friends want to dedicate their whole weekend to working with you, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you say 2 friends or 200 friends?
Yeah, 200,000 people
Yeah,
be a
right.
part of this.
Right.
All the stuff I want to do, I picture like big group scenes, and I'm like, I can't do that for free,
Right.
or I can't like take their time for free or something.
Or you got to figure out what the maneuver is on it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like to me that the biggest delay in the process is like, if you had the money, it's getting the crew that you need. So like, if you had the crew you needed and you had the people in position who had the money, is it the script? Is it you wouldn't want to direct? Like, what would you do in that process? Would you be the producer? Would you star in it? What would be your role on set of this beautiful film that you want to make?
Yeah, I think delegating producer is good. I feel like I would like to be. I mean, I love shooting and editing and directing, and it's like almost hard to step back from those things if you want to.
But if you had
fully make it yours,
if you had your fingers in it, you're almost like in an extreme situation because nobody wants this, but you were puppeteering the whole thing.
Yeah, I would like to direct something.
You direct.
Yeah, and then like delegate you to shooting and editing too, even. But like,
and you know, bring me coffee, driving the truck, flying the plane.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I would like to be in a director position for like a comedy.
Cool.
Yeah.
For like a comedy. Now,
That would be a lot of fun.
as like a side note, I know the answer to this. What kind of comedy? And give me a director.
I love mockumentaries.
Yes, you do.
And one of my favorite directors is Christopher Guest.
Yes, I knew it.
Best in Show, A Mighty Wind.
I just got a copy of Mighty Wind recently.
Oh,
and I was like,
enjoy
I
it.
forgot about this.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Yeah, I love that he uses similar cast, like the same cast throughout his films. And I just am really a huge fan of the super, super dry.
It's the dry humor, right?
Yeah.
Now, just kind of elaborate just a little bit. Don't go too much detail, but like, why is that so appealing as opposed to, let's say, like some kind of slapstick, like Always Sunny, or doing like, I don't know, like an animated comedy? Like, why the Christopher Guest vein? Like, what is it?
Maybe because it combines documentary and like real life
And
stuff.
you think you could like do this?
And like, yeah.
But do you
and then
think-
capturing real life and making it kind of a joke.
So then that begs the question, were you a fan of this style of filmmaking with Christopher Guest before you were doing similar stuff yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, so it's almost like a
Like
self-fulfilling prophecy.
before The Office came out. Before
Really?
that got really popular.
Wow.
Yeah. Like Best in Show was like one of my favorite movies.
That's confusing because not everybody is like kind of in the vein they want to go down. Like some people are like, I want to make Star Wars, and they're like shooting commercials for Dellenbach. But you're like, I'm kind of in the vein, and if I just kind of like, if I were to make a parody of the things I do, then
Yeah.
I'm doing a guest.
Me and Ashley did a little mockumentary for one of my college projects,
Yeah.
like as being roommates together.
Oh yeah,
Great.
yeah. You told me.
Did I show it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crap.
I was like, yeah.
Well, we've talked about that. I think at one point we had a conversation about like we should have like a film night where we all just show stuff that we're like
Our cringiest old.
ancient,
We
cringy.
should still do that.
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
that.
Well, once we figure out the whole live streaming thing, we could easily launch it.
Yeah,
Just
cut
do like a group
clips.
watch.
Right,
Yeah.
That
or
would
just
be
like
so
have
fun.
the feeding while we're just all sitting there being like we
Yeah.
like you guys are allowed to talk during the film, so we could be like, oh my god, what is that? They filmed
This
this. Up.
looks. Yeah.
The wind is the star.
It is the main character.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say. Cool. Yeah. So, and kind of leaning into that, doing these commercials, your favorite kind of films and stuff like that. We all have done creative stuff together. We have done music videos, and we haven't fully touched on 5314. So let's talk about it. We've talked about these competitions that I've actually put on personally with the 48-Hour Film Festival Weekend Warriors. And I don't want to say it. I want you to say it. Like, why are we kind of like legacies within that to a point, like because of the timeline? And why do you think 5314 was able to come into existence? And you
It seems like Doug Usher started it,
There we go.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe to have a parallel event, not a competition, a parallel event to 48-Hour Weekend Warriors and things like that, but to incorporate music too, which like doing the 48s and the film races is an awesome way to meet other filmmakers. And then their friends who have connections with locations and stuff. Again, I always go back to locations. As far as filmmaking in Fort Collins goes, I feel like it's easy to make films here because there isn't like a Hollywood level filmmaking scene, but such a local one where so many people know each other
Yeah.
that, oh, I know someone who owns a movie theater. I know someone who owns this grocery store. Like, how many of us have filmed in Beaver's Market
Oh,
like a million times?
Well, I know you definitely.
I have. God, I need to stop. I swear that's my last one last year.
When she goes in, they just give her
Okay.
Sam's here
Yeah,
today. Yeah.
laminated me.
right.
Once you shoot 5 films in there, you get a laminated card.
I never filmed in there, but Marty and I, way back in the day, we wrote a feature film and we had a whole scene that kicks off the entirety of the movie that happens in Beavers, because we figured we could probably shoot there.
Shoot there, right?
we never did,
Sam
but
does all the time.
Yeah. I'm gonna shoot there. No.
Yeah.
I was like that. In high school, we wrote like a
Your
whole
podcast in Beavers. Just set it up in the produce department. Like, oh, we're good. They're like, all right.
Yeah, they know us by name by this point.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having like a scene like this that you're growing into, is being able to utilize locations and stuff like that. Where we're growing as a scene too, and I kind of want to ask you about this because this applies to our local scene. Some of the stuff we want to do creatively as like a bigger community. Do you see what's happening? What have you seen change since you've been here? Do you see a future for us being a hub for this? Like, what's your opinion on this stuff?
I feel like in the past 10 years, through Weekend Warriors, through 5314, it's invited a lot of talent that maybe you didn't know was in town, and seeing how kind of deep it is, how many people are involved with the creative stuff. And it kind of seems like a lot of people have their own little crews that they tend to work with. But having events like 5314 gets us all in the same room, showing each other's work, asking each other how they got this and that shot. And it's been a really cool thing for everyone to say, well, if you ever want to borrow that, just hit me up. Or if you ever need help on one of your shoots, I'm available. And it's been so cool, like the coolest collaboration I've ever seen. And we were, you and I, you guys and myself are the only 2 teams that have done it for 7 years in a row. And
The 7, yeah, we're going on to 8.
8 would be this summer.
That's
Oh my gosh.
holy
Isn't that crazy?
That's funny that we've never worked together on one. It's always been
It's always been
Yeah.
Sam's team and
not-
Sean and Jesse's team. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But like, and even speaking upon that, because we haven't been into many details, let's just kind of like briefly go over the 5314 setup. So, Doug Usher puts it on, which we've mentioned a few times. We'll probably bring him onto the cast at some point.
along with like the music district and like a local radio station.
KRFC. There's a Bohemian Foundation's behind it. So we've got quite a bit of support out here in our community doing this stuff, because it originally, from like even the early 90s, this community was a music community. It became this massive hub for music. Things like the Illumineers are from here, and I mean, for anybody else out there that likes electronic music, like Pitcher Plane was doing shows, and he's huge in New York. There's a lot of stuff that's happened here, which then leads to there being a community growth and a lot of people moving here. And then the secondary version of that, because we have a music district out here, is there's now enough production houses out here that we can do music videos. And I don't know if you guys have heard this. I've heard it through the grapevine, but us in Northern Colorado, we've become part of the state that makes music videos. When someone says you're from Northern Colorado as a creative and they're from a different part of the state, they go, oh, that's where the music videos come from and stuff like that. So there is a decent respect for the fact that we are doing this up here.
Hell yeah.
It gives us like a little bit of our own thing that we do.
Yeah, a little niche.
That we do, because we need that. But we're not here just to make music videos. It's just that it's so convenient because we have FOCO MX every year, and we had New West Fest for a while too, and there's all these competitions for that, and there's so many new musicians every single day moving here. The music videos are just in our world. But to kind of like bring that in a little bit, and what we've talked about over the last couple episodes, just I want to hear this from both of you. What is the future for Northern Colorado film? What do you see, Sam?
Having events like HIF, 5314, FOCO MX, and then a place like the Lyric to show them all, I think it attracts other people. Like they show up and say, I've never heard of 5314. That was awesome. I want to do it next year. And just it's gaining attention for other filmmakers and creatives to be involved in kind of just a lighthearted, free kind of way.
Yeah.
Like it's you don't have to pay to play. You just kind of submit your work and see where you kind of fit in the scene and build crews or jump on other ones. And also, I guess, as far as like the evolution of the film scene in Northern Colorado, we're watching it happen at the same time as the accessibility of equipment is getting better. And so I feel like, more people are picking up cameras because they know someone who has this or that. Or like you guys, you could rent your Red, you can rent from Steve Roberts. It's becoming easier to make films, or just more accessible rather. Making films is hard, but and having a place to show them is what keeps the momentum going.
Yeah, and like we kind of have like a local thing too, because everybody kind of has like their equipment and might have certain things that each other don't have. Is like, if it's for creative, we let you just use it. And if it's for commercial, that's when we rent it out, kind of thing. And so it's a really cool way. It's like, oh man, I know so-and-so has this. That'd be great for this shot that we need in our short film. You just hit them up and like, oh yeah, I'm not using it that weekend. You can just use it. But then it's like, if you're making a little money off of it.
Can we, pay it forward?
Yeah, right? But like, and then no one like gouges you for those rentals too. Like, you get some pretty awesome equipment for like nothing, but it's just like showing that you're a little appreciation, like you're getting a little work, we'll give you a little bit as a thank you kind of thing. But I love that aspect a lot of our filmmakers. Like, yeah, you're doing something fun that we know it's probably there's no budget and we don't want to like screw your project. Right. Let's get your project made. Here's the equipment you need. And I think that's one of my favorite things.
Well, why do you?
It's a really supportive community.
Yeah.
Why do you think our community is so open to this? Is there something that's happened? Is there something this community has that like embraces that? Like, why do we think that we operate the way we do? What makes it, and also what makes us a little bit unique in that operation?
Again, my theory of locations being a huge part of it. Like, you can walk into almost any place, in my experience, and from what I've heard too, and just say, hey, can we, through the V-Song stuff, hey, can we film in your store? We're doing a thing. And they're like, oh, really? That's cool. Yeah, come on in. Yeah. And so having a variety of looks really sets us apart, I think, from like, when we were all in college, we're all shooting in each other's like shitty apartments.
Yeah.
So it's like the look, it just, and then we all looked so young and it's just like not really believable. Or it's just like, oh, clearly it's a student project, but it just looks more legit when you are like actually in a store, in a grocery store, in a movie theater.
Well, with that being said too, and you point out like the age thing, does it feel like you also have access to a lot of actors and stuff too to kind of help create that illusion?
Yeah, through V-Song, and then also things like Wednesday blew the door open of like, hey, this person has kids, they like to act, and they have a grandpa, and so you have like all age ranges in this town who are willing to be a part of it. And I think it just comes down to making movies is fun. Right. and I feel like anytime, I mean, you've seen it when you're out on the street and you have your mic and your lights and your camera set up, people stop and they look. it's cool to see, and a lot of people want to be a part of it. Yeah. People, even if you're not involved. Yeah. And suddenly they are.
Yeah, right.
I feel like just Colorado, at least our area of Colorado, is just like so low key and chill too. That like, sure, we kind of like the competition between other filmmakers, but everybody just wants films to be made.
That's really an excuse to make films.
Yeah, but like I mean, obviously haven't gone out to LA, but I would be hard pressed to find that same kind of thing. Like hit up another company and be like, hey, can we borrow your
that
Canon, whatever primes, and your Red camera, money, like that kind of thing. But like around here, it's just like, like we trust you. We know that you're not going to like break it.
Yeah, we all have mutual friends.
Yeah, and it's just like...
we know where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
We're filming at your house.
And I think like part of that is like that camaraderie with like 5314 and stuff like that, like has kind of solidified that love of just getting projects done and wanting each other to succeed in our things. And I think without that, it wouldn't be as strong, but it's always been there. Like we've always kind of had that feeling of like, hey, we're trying to do something and we make it work. But I think especially over the last 7 years, it's really grown tighter.
It does.
Where that like now we have people with Reds and Aries and stuff, and they're like, yeah, just take my camera and like shoot something, or take these,
Right.
thousands of dollar lenses and shoot something, and it's not a big deal. I love that.
Yeah, I think there's a spirit here too. Like, why Northern Colorado? What do you think about the film scene? We are all transplants, and if there's like a spirit here in Northern Colorado where people are here on purpose. People came here maybe not to escape, but just people want to be here, and so everyone's just a little bit excited to be involved in anything creative because they chose to be here, like getting out of where they came from. And we're all here for the same reason,
Yeah.
because it's awesome.
Right.
Like just the geography, the weather. It's easy to shoot outside, even in the winter sometimes. And I think that adds a lot to it too.
Do you think that this town, also this area, has a higher respect for creatives than some other places that might like be ran by, say, a big corporation factory or something like that? Like, is that the essence I'm speaking of, or is there something else that I'm not like pointing out?
It seems like it, and I think it's because of a lot of the business owners have chosen to have a stage in their facility, like in their coffee shop or their venue or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the infrastructure to allow creativity is here because the business owners support
Yeah.
it.
Well, a huge part of that is Pat Stryker too, just like
Mm-hmm.
throwing a festival for free
Dude,
for like a decade straight for 3 days,
right?
and like just bringing in huge acts, but also like mostly local
Mm-hmm.
to Fort Collins, not Denver, to Fort Collins. We had like Earth, Wind, and Fire play and War, and
But
like,
like,
like
you're saying, like
It's
playing
awesome.
alongside local talent
yeah,
too, so it doesn't feel like, okay, this is your stage and this is their stage.
yeah.
Yeah, like Wasteland Hop got to play on the main stage, and later that night, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
played, or
Which is
might have not
crazy.
been that year, but you know what I mean. They played on the main stage.
B-52s. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what?
Little John, whatever. You know.
So
Yeah.
I think that was a huge. I'm actually kind of bummed that it's no longer a thing, but
I think I have a feeling, because it was such a huge thing, that something's going to come along to be a replacement of it of some kind. I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
I mean, Foco MX is kind of that, but that's a pay to
That's-
play thing. But
But it's also like a spring thing. We need that spring thing and the fall thing. We'll figure it out. So, but that also leads into like my next big question that I'd like to ask both of you is,
will you marry me?
yeah, I've been thinking about this. I'm contemplating it. There's my finger in marriage. I don't think that's how it works, Jesse. The biggest thing that I think that I'd like to get on everybody's opinion on, and I'm going to ask this every time, is as in the the image that we are creating and where you want to be. What is the next 5 to 10 years in a perfect setup look like?
1 to 2 lines.
Yeah.
Bullet point.
Bullet point, right? And it'll be on your permanent record. But like an idea of like what does it mean for us to progress to a certain level that is how you feel we should be in Northern Colorado? Are we Hollywood in 10 years? Are we this massive hub that is become like a beacon like Austin? Or is this gone and we've all moved somewhere else? Like, where do you see it, Sam? What do you think? Or where would you like to see it?
I think it would be a huge step up if we could have like a soundstage in town. That would help a ton, because everything else would be on location stuff, which is totally doable. I think a soundstage would be, and we've been talking about that forever. Or everyone has. That would be a huge help.
And is it because that would bring in work for us here?
Yeah, and just stay away from, because Fort Collins is a little quieter than Denver.
Yeah.
It would probably be just a little more relaxing to make a film up here than a busy big city.
Do you believe that some of the things we're missing in order to get us to that level is like sound stages and things like that to do where we can compete against places like Denver? Like, is that why you think that's the case?
Yeah, because I think if you're talking, you want outside films or like Hollywood producers looking at Fort Collins to hire crew, they would only, if we don't have a soundstage, then what they're looking for is something specifically like
we need
a building that they're looking for, a look they're looking for.
Got it.
Other than that, continuing to do these festivals and showcasing all the talent, like 5314, there's 70 new music videos in the world in the past 7 years. And that is so, so cool. So even just being recognized for that is an accomplishment and something that we can all be proud of.
Cool. Sweet. What about you, Sean? What do you think? What's the next 10 years like perfection for you?
Yeah, I mean, very similar because I mean, a lot of stuff we want to shoot and stuff kind of requires, green screen and a lot of that kind of stuff. But I do also think that because we are kind of centralized in the U.S. for the most part, we can bring a lot of people. Like, if someone wants to shoot something in Hollywood that lives on the East Coast, that's a pretty big haul, but it's not as big to get to Denver or Fort Collins. But yeah, I definitely think that we could definitely become like a hub that starts making feature films and like getting stuff out there, bigger projects. Like there's so many awesome small projects being made, but I think in the next 5-10 years, we're going to start seeing more like, features and like full length documentaries, which I know few people have already been doing that. Which we should definitely get like people like Jamal and stuff on here.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
definitely
some cool documentaries and stuff right now. But yeah, I think we're like kind of on that cusp of like starting to make these, bigger projects. That's what I see in the future is everybody coming together. Hopefully, coming together, not just doing their own thing, but us as a community putting out awesome content. I had a better way to say that in my head and it just kind of pittered out, but that's
that made sense. It made sense. In my opinion, there are a couple elements that we're missing in order to get us to the level that we need to be. But I think that with the people that we have here locally and everybody that's out there supporting us, there is potential for it. And yes, soundstage is important. I think that there's one thing that we have here, and it's something I noticed from moving from out of an area where there wasn't this kind of support, is that without even trying, this town does a good job of helping each other out, patting each other on the back and stuff. There just needs to be someone or an entity that kind of forces us into the same room to work together. Because when we all work together with the 5314s or the 48-hour competitions like Weekend Warriors, or even with Horsetooth Fest, a reason to do something at the end of the year, it causes there to be a camaraderie. And I've said this already probably 3 times between the last couple episodes is it takes a village to make a film. Heck, at this point, a small city, and you take about 400 people to make a feature in Hollywood. So I could probably count 100 people right now that are working their butts off just in Colorado, period. So like doing the stuff that we have in our own community where we're working together and supporting each other and taking this like in exclusiveness out of this process we have been able to do through us just showing that there's no need for it. I think that's what makes us unique. And if we're going to grow to the point that we're going to grow, cats like us, and especially people like Sam, who's out there like putting a beacon out there, and there's rumors that you might be in another state soon enough to be able to be another beacon for us. It's only going to extend this network for the Northern Colorado scene. And that's important for all of us. So don't go out there. Don't be mad that a homie left this area to go do it somewhere else. Think of it as a fishing line being thrown out or like a line being drawn back on the map. We can grow to a point, and people like Sam, people like Sean, people like, the Hudsons and the Doug Ushers that we spoke about, Steve Roberts, we're making it happen. So work together. So last thing for today's episode, to soften the dramatic effect there. Sam, you've told me your favorite director, favorite style of movies, which is like, like that kind of dry comedy. And I'm going to take that person off the table. They're gone now. Can't use them. If there was another director that you would work with, or even another, like a favorite film that you wish you were on that wasn't a Christopher Guest style of film, just because I want you to give me an odd answer, what would it be?
Another director?
Director or film that you would like that's not necessarily dry humored or something like that. Something that might not be totally...
Something not in comedy?
Yeah, not in comedy. Throw it at me. What you got?
I mean, it's so like obvious. I have a big soft spot for Kill Bill. So some Tarantino stuff is pretty fun, know.
Is it the blood that you want to film? Is it the fight scenes you want to film?
I guess it's like, the creative, almost funny edits within fight scenes.
Right.
Yeah. Kill Bill was so fun for me when that first came out, and I guess that's my example. Yeah,
that's your example.
Yeah.
So if it's not Christopher Guest like super dry humor, it's extreme blood, but still comedy. There's still comedy in there.
Yeah.
Can't get away from the comedy.
Yeah.
Can't take you away.
I also like Taika Waititi quite a
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His work too.
You know,
Also, yeah. He's also more on the comedy side. Can't get away from
you
it.
can't get away from it, but
Yeah.
that's good. That we know who you are.
Yeah.
It's got to be comedy.
We get it.
We get it. You're hilarious. Ha ha ha. Sammy is pretty funny though, guys. If you ever get in a position. Well, okay. I think it's this is a good little wrap up. We've been working. We've been talking with Sam for this whole thing. We're gonna put up pictures. If you're watching us on the live stream, we're gonna show a bunch of this stuff in our actual episodes. But make sure you like, subscribe. If there's somebody you want to see on the cast, if you got questions for Sam outside of this to give us an excuse to bring her back on for a future shoot, this is a growing thing for all of us. Be part of it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna try to put these out. Hopefully every Tuesday is the schedule.
Tuesday.
So yeah, check back Tuesdays, and I think we'll just cut there.
Yeah, let's cut. There you go. Okay, well that was 4 parts, Sam. Feel good about it. Is there anything you didn't say that you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, there's a million things, but we'll get to it next time. We now have like 6 months worth of content. Hey,
Right?
for you.
We do, right?